There is a vast difference between discerning the root cause of a situation, of a conflict, of a challenge, versus blaming and pointing the finger eternally outwards that the rest of the world is wrong, the other person is wrong, this and that is wrong. There's a huge difference between the two, and this is what I find gets lost with all my clients and even in my friends' circles and family circles. When there's relationship conflict, what keeps people stuck is that they're not giving room for this and that, for yes, your truth is valid from your experience and it's educating me how you experience life, and also my experience is valid from my point of view, and it's a way for you to get to know how I process my experiences in life. When we can communicate with our partners, our friends, even if possible with our work colleagues and bosses, when we can really see that this isn't a battle of who's right and who's wrong, it's not a battle of blame, well, you did this, and because you did this, I feel this. That's not how it works. That is the recipe for perpetual conflict and perpetual suffering. The only thing that can liberate us is by acknowledging that every single human being's experience on this planet, what they are having, their story, their interpretation, is there for a reason. They have their script for a reason. They have their interpretations for a reason. We have our interpretations for a reason. But that reason doesn't mean it's true. And that's where we get lost. We think because we feel strongly about this and we've conditioned our brain to believe it as a fact based on just a feeling, but we've turned that feeling into a fact without proper research, without proper investigation, without proper self-reflection. We get caught in that, and then that is the source of why we fight, why we argue with each other, because each person is trying to be seen. And each person is saying, no, my way is the way to see it, not your way. Instead of saying, oh, interesting, I never thought to see it that way. I never would have seen it the way you see it. Tell me more. Let me get to know you. Let me listen. Let me learn to understand. How do you work certain situations out in your mind? What are your reference points that activate, the beliefs that come up, that give you the interpretations that really are not in alignment with truth, but they're in alignment with a past experience and a past story and a past hurt, blinding us from seeing and being fully present. This, for me, is the ultimate awakening. And the awakening doesn't mean it's done, though. The awakening requires practice to move from awakening insight into embodiment and being. And that's the hardest part. The gap between awareness and insight and embodying and being. And this is where most of us give up. This is where most of us just say, it's too hard, it's too complicated. You're too complicated. I've got it. I'm going to go somewhere else. There's somebody better for me because you just don't make sense, or whatever it is. These are the moments, we surrender the higher awareness of higher knowing and knowledge to the lower base nature of survival, which is all about fight, flight, or flee. So to discern, for example, I can say to my partner, when you say this impacts me in this way, this activates my trigger, and maybe you don't mean it this way. I don't know, maybe you do, but maybe you don't, and I need you to know that when you do this and you say this way, this is what it activates in me, and it makes me feel defensive, and as soon as I'm defensive, I can no longer be vulnerable to share the full truth of me. And then my partner, when he's conscious, and fortunately I do have a conscious partner, will say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I really don't mean to be doing that. That's not what I'm trying to. Oh, this is just my emotionality, or this is just, I got a trigger and I didn't realize that I was being so forceful because I was in the trigger, and I'm so sorry. And then vulnerability can come back into the connection because both people are genuinely expressing and listening. They're not coming from the ping pong table of defense and deflection. Well, I did all this for you, and I did all this for you, and how dare you talk to me like that? How dare you think I would do that? Well, no, that's not what it's about. It's not about all the good things that happen. It's about the one thing that isn't working. And all the good things that are working do not erase the one thing that's not working. That's not how it works. But we have this crazy idea that that's how it's supposed to work, that all of these merit points are supposed to make, whatever I did that, caused him harm unintentionally, but caused him harm, well, that shouldn't bother you because I've done all of this already. That's not how it works. And I see this again and again and again and again in all my clients, and I've been there. I know it. I used to do it until I learned not to. And even knowing it, it's still not always easy to practice, because when a real firecracker trigger gets activated, it takes a lot of will and self-control and self-direction and self-regulating to stay aligned with that higher awareness and insight and knowing. And the thing is, as in a previous video, that's the pressure. That's the pressure that makes the diamond. That's the pressure that's actually love in action. That pressure is there because what is not working, and something new is longing to be born and created from that pressure. But instead of staying connected to the awareness of that, when we don't stay connected to that awareness, we implode, we explode, and then all that creative energy force, it just sort of like vomits out of us. But in that, it's taking away our power. Reactions are easy. Self-regulation is not. And self-regulation isn't just about self-control, it's about self-creation. How am I going to use this pressure for me to ask different questions, maybe? Find out, what is my part in this situation? Where might I need to open my mind to understand my partner more, or situation, or whatever it is, or a family member? Because when I step into that playing field, then suddenly all kinds of different doors open of possibility, because then I'm in my frontal cortex, which is the master of problem solving and connecting the dots and insight and all of that. And I've left my limbic brain that is only about victimization, feeling victimized, and blaming. And that limbic system has its purpose, but it's out of proportion. In our modern world, the limbic brain is not functioning as it was naturally designed to. It's overactivated, overstimulated, overdeveloped. And because of that, it shuts down the frontal cortex, which is supposed to in the wild, because if I'm going to stand in front of a tree and say, oh, which tree should I go up when the tiger's coming after me? I'm going to be dinner. So the limbic brain is functioning normally. The thing is that it's, in terms of its basic, command of what it's supposed to do. But in our modern world, where everybody's limbic system is overly developed from too much stress, too much adrenaline, too much cortisol in the body, we're no longer able to be reasonable. We're no longer able to pause and reflect. We're just constantly in reaction. And the more, the measure of how overdeveloped our limbic brain is how often do we get offended? How often do we blame? That's my measure. The more I get offended, the more I'm showing myself, oh my gosh, there is stuff here that needs to heal. There's stuff I'm not looking at. I need to put the finger towards myself inward. So I'm here at my home, in my sauna, having these thoughts. And these thoughts are activated by experiences in my own life. I'm not just coming on here saying, oh, I've got a thought. No, these are things that I'm working through myself. Some situations that are happening in my own family. But what I do know is that when I do choose to reach, to enrich my life by reaching for a more coherent, reasonable, common sense, open thought that my frontal cortex can engage, so that I can engage that higher knowing, the moment I make that choice to do that, the whole dance changes. And that's what I want to bring across in this. It's like, we don't have to have it all figured out. We just need to trip that mechanism that brings us back into our higher knowing. That's all it is. We got to trip that mechanism so that we can choose and not be ruled by our limbic responses. It doesn't mean we negate them. It doesn't mean we say, oh, why my feelings don't count. No, they do count, but they don't count if they're just being viewed through the limbic system. It's not complete. We need to have complete observation. I need to hear my inner world. It's showing me a red flag, absolutely. But then I need my frontal cortex to be able to sort through and see, is this really a red flag of real danger? Or is this a red flag that's indicating that, oh, I have an unprocessed trauma and pain inside me that I really need to take care of? And I will never be able to fully see clearly anything in my life until I take care of my own inner traumas and my own inner triggers. That's the only time we can gain clarity and coherency, is when we do our inner work. So I'm going to invite you to explore each day, how many times are you playing yourself a victim? And also, how many times when somebody points something out to you that maybe is, has a little bit of truth in it, a truth that you don't want to hear, that you react to, because the reaction shows there's truth in it. Might not be a total truth, but there's truth. So, and how many times do you walk through the day deflecting, denying, when people tell you a personality trait or they address something with you that, is affecting them, that you just say, no, that's just you, that's just your stuff. For me, I never do that. When somebody tells me something, I look. And even if, 95% might be their stuff, but maybe there's 5% of something in me too, for me to just be aware of. Maybe my delivery, or maybe even they're reflecting a piece of me that I don't want to look at. It's like a calculus equation. It's not a black and white 1 + 1 = 2, but we need the basic math to be able to solve a calculus equation. So the basic math is recognizing I am triggered. And when I'm triggered, I am impaired. And when I'm impaired, I'm not seeing the world correctly. And when I'm not seeing the world correctly, I need to step back. I need to pause. I need to reflect. I need to take inventory and wait until I can feel that my action of reflection is reactivating my frontal cortex to come online, so that I can start thinking coherently, so I can start problem solving, so I can start putting pieces together in a way that help me live a fuller and better life with less conflict and turmoil. Because the fact is, wherever you have turmoil in your life, you are a part of that equation. It's not just the other person. You are a part of it. And the moment we take accountability for that, that's the moment we take our power back. And when we take our power back, that's when we're able to find healthy, good, reasonable solutions and understanding to navigate the challenges and to make coherent, clear choices, versus just making our decisions and choices based on, boiling water emotions. That's the worst time to make any kind of decision and choice. But too often when we're in that state, we defend that state. And so the thing is too, another little piece, we get to keep what we defend. So if we keep defending our weaknesses, our flaws, our challenges, our reasons why we can't meet the challenges, why we can't do something, the more we defend that, the more we keep what we defend. But if we defend my capacity, if I defend my capacity, that I have an incredible instrument of my mind, I have a frontal cortex that can be strengthened by my will and by my choice and by my mindset choice. That I can regulate my limbic system emotions and feelings that feel like truth, but they are never the truth completely. When I see and I know that, when I can embrace that fact, that's when my power comes back. So why not defend your capacity to meet your own shadow and come out stronger and more whole on the other end? That's my invitation. Because absolutely everybody has shadow parts. And until those are met, until those are integrated, until those are refined and evolved into greater awareness and consciousness and love, ultimately, then we're just going to keep looping in the same soup of conflict, pain, suffering, and it never ends. And I've been in that soup. And because it was so uncomfortable, I grew out of it. And that's why I share what I share with my clients at my retreat center and through my online coaching. And it's really quite simple. It's not as complicated as you might think. It's just flicking that switch and realizing you have the power to flick that switch and having the tools to flick that switch inside of you. And then you embark on a completely different path where you leave blame behind. You leave victimization, feeling victimized behind. And you walk forward in your soul sovereignty as a co-creator in this life, as a creator and director of your own film, of your own story. You become self-authored. And this self-authoring process does not happen without meeting all of the other stuff first. The personality patterns that we developed to survive, and God bless them, we needed them. But if you've reached that point where it's like, this is enough, I can't keep doing this loop, well then this is the way to move out of that loop. To take the reins back in your hands and lead your own life forward with intentioned thoughts, with chosen beliefs, chosen thoughts, chosen meaning that uplifts you and activates the force of creation that is in you, that made you, that you are a part of, and that you are here to be creative with. Because you're already creating your own misery, so why not, and that's all unconscious. We create our own unconscious misery. So if I'm already creating, so what about if I just decide to start creating consciously? That's all the journey is. It's choosing to take that power to say, I have the power of choice to choose consciously. That's it. I can make a new choice. I can make a new path for myself. I have that power. And once you make that choice, the whole world changes. So this was a bit longer than I thought, but this is what came through. And I hope maybe it activated some seeds of insight, maybe even triggers, which is okay, because triggers are an activation to awaken as well. Sending you love, goodness, and grace always. Mahalo. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this, please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode when I upload a video or a spontaneous recording like this. And if you're interested in one-to-one mentoring or healing sessions at my retreat center or online, you can please find more information and get in touch with me at soulspectivesinstitute.com. And exciting news! I'm launching a membership app focused on personal growth and healing, where you can enjoy weekly live Q&A sessions and receive weekly inspirational uploads and lots of other bonuses. If you're interested in becoming a founding member, reach out for more details. I'd love to have you in our community. You've been listening to Luana Victoria Arana, founder of Soulspectives Institute for Personal Transformation, #1 best-selling author of Resilience, Grace, and the Art of Showing Up, musician, mentor, coach, wayfinder, and explorer, helping women transform trauma into personal power and purpose so they can build their legacy of joy, fulfillment, and complete, full expression of self in their authentic, true nature. Thanks again. I'll see you next time. Bye.